sacrifice. But you can be certain that we will be with you in heart and mind. Your mother and I gladly give you our family blessing, and as a priest, we kiss your holy hand, asking you to always keep us in mind and send us your blessings. This is the Church of the Most Holy Redeemer on the island of Giudecca, one of the most suggestive places in Venice. By now, he's no longer Brother Leopoldo, but will always be known as Father Leopoldo. Here, he'll remain for another 7 years after ordination. First, to continue his studies in theology, and second, to begin his religious pastoral studies as a confessor and preacher. But then, in 1897, a new transfer seemed to fulfill the desire that Father Leopoldo always had in his heart. He's sent back to Eastern Europe, among his beloved people. The ancient Capuchin church sanctuary was one of the most noteworthy constructions in Zara. Zara was a beautiful city founded by the Romans that became an outpost for the Venetian Republic on the Adriatic coast. Following Father Leopold's footsteps, we're now back in Zadar in Dalmatia, which is further north in respect to Castelnuovo di Kotor, a zone where the Republic of Croatia lies today. At the high altar, there's a painting dedicated to Our Lady of Miracles that's been venerated in this sanctuary for centuries. Here, Father Leopoldo was finally able to draw closer to his people and to the Orient. He felt it was his mission to promulgate unity between the Catholic Church and the Orthodox Christians in his place of birth. Father Leopoldo used to say this about himself: I'm the fruit of a population that does not see things the way we do, but I live for them just the same. Croatian in origin and citizen of Austria, Father Leopoldo's nationality was always an issue he took to heart. He was deeply attached to his land and its people and shared their concerns. It wasn't sentimentalism, nor was it nationalism. Just as he once wrote, it was God's calling. By God's grace, it's now perfectly clear what I was called forth to do for the salvation of my people. I must pray and help bring the dissidents of this land back to the Catholic Church. But God's plan was far more mysterious. It was not Father Leopold's physical presence in Zara that would have brought about religious unity and the spiritual growth of his people. As a matter of fact, only 3 years as superior in the small friary of Zara, Father Leopoldo was transferred once again to Italy. His first stay was in Bassano del Grappa as a confessor. 5 years later, he was back in the Austrian Empire, this time as a vicar in the friary of Capodistria in today's Slovenia. He spent just over a year there and was soon sent to northern Italy in a town called Thiene in the Friary Sanctuary of Madonna dell'Olmo. The next year he was moved to Padua, only to be sent back to Thiene. This time only for 8 months, because on the 25th of April 1909, at the age of 43, he was once again in Padua. Here in the Friary of Santa Croce, he was the director of the young Capuchin scholars, where he also taught patrology. Later he was exonerated from these positions so he could dedicate himself entirely to confessions. At the outbreak of World War I, the Italian government, for security reasons, ordered all citizens of Istria and Dalmatia to be held prisoners, except those who accept to become Italian citizens. Father Leopoldo, who prefers to keep his Austrian citizenship, accepts to be transferred to southern Italy. His first 2 years was in the Friary of Torre, then to Nola near Naples, and finally in Arienzo, another town in southern Italy near Caserta. Once the war was over, Leopoldo finally moved back to Padua. He resumed his position in his small confessional cell and recommended his long procession of penitents. Believers of every age and every walk in his life came for his understanding, his compassion, and absolution given in God's name. but he was still moved by the voice in his heart, beckoning him to his land, asking him to dedicate his life to his people. Once again it appears that his dream is about to be fulfilled. When in 1921, after the occupation of D'Annunzio and his legionnaires, Fiume is annexed to Italy. The Capuchin friary, which was once in Istria, is now part of Veneto, a northern Italian province. In 1923, Father Leopoldo was transferred to Fiume. The saint was ecstatic. He could finally be with his people. Now he could dedicate his life to his mission of restoring unity in the Christian Church. But once again things were not as they seem. This time the entire city of Padua is against him. It was nearly unanimous, and only a few days after Father Leopoldo's departure, the bishop asked the provincial father of the Capuchin monks, in the name of the citizens, to give the citizens of Padua back their confessor. Upon that, the provincial father wrote to Father Leopoldo, "I have no choice but to take back my decision regarding your vocation and call you back to Padua. You're highly requested by prominent people as well as devout religious followers. This goes to say that you've done a mountain of good, as the bishop said, and that your mission in Padua is not yet complete." So Father Leopoldo returned to his confessional cell, where he received, listened to, comforted and absolved penitents each day, even 12 hours non-stop. He resumed the daily Mass and the celebration of the Eucharist, but he finally committed himself to his dream of unity in the Church. May there be only one fold with only one shepherd. And this was the sacrifice that he offered toward the return of the Eastern Church to the Catholic Church. A martyrdom that would continue day after day, non-stop for more than 20 years. It's been said that not everyone liked Father Leopoldo for his laxness. Some accused him of being overindulgent. He suffered because of the things that were said about him. But filled with the wealth of God's Spirit, he pointed to the cross and said, "If the Holy Cross must rebuke me for being overindulgent, I could only say, Blessed Father, you are the one who gave me this example, and I'm not indulgent to the point of dying for souls." At the end of autumn 1940, Father Leopoldo's health began to diminish, and from there only got worse. At the beginning of April 1942, he was recovered in the city hospital. He ignored the tumour in his esophagus and soon went back to the friary to continue his confessions. July 29th, he held confessions without stopping. Then, after an entire night of prayer, he began preparations for the daily Mass when he suddenly lost consciousness. He was taken to his bed and was given the Holy Sacraments for his illness. He uttered the last words of the Salve Regina and reached up as if he knew someone was awaiting him. At this point, he took his last breath and departed. Father Leopoldo of Castelnuovo, formerly Adeodato Giovanni Mandić, died on July the 30th, 1942. The war was raging that would eventually destroy Padua's Capuchin friary and miraculously leave his confessional unscathed. Soon there was talk of miracles. Already in 1946, the Bishop's See in Padua initiated an informative process regarding the virtues and public hearsay about Father Leopoldo's sanctity. First, by the Vox Populi, and later the Church, recognized two charismas in our saint. One was his excellence in administering confessions. The other was his complete devotion to the reunification of the Orthodox and the Catholic churches. In addition to this, there have been miraculous recoveries attributable to his intercession. This fact has been given recognition by ecclesiastical authorities who've elevated Father Leopoldo Mandić to the honours of the altar,